Buckle up. Welcome to Musicians and Beyond, where we bring you the backstage info on the life, lyrics, and long journeys of the music industry. You have John Surabian and Mark Lawhorne as your host today, and we want to welcome everyone and thank you for tuning in and listening. Mark, what's going on with you?
Just another wonderful week here in Pleasure Town. How about yourself?
Mark, not really much to report. I mean, we've been busy with all of our podcasts, and we have had some fantastic guests. I want to talk about our last guest, Matthew O'Quinn. He might not be well known, but it's one of the best stories that I've ever heard in my life.
It's a really, really great story. And when you listen to his music, the songs that he's written, you can tell the influences that he's had.
He's a nice guy, too.
Really nice guy.
Yeah.
One day we'll get up in the sky and let him pilot us around.
Yeah. Let's put that on the agenda.
I'm in.
All right. So today we have a girl calling in from North Carolina.
North Carolina.
And she's got some incredible music out there.
Yes, she does.
And she's going back and forth from North Carolina to Nashville. And
Nashville, as you know, it's one of my favorite little towns in America. I love it there. And I can see why she's running back and forth. But
what Jennifer Alvarado has to say. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
It's great to have you. How are things with you?
Good. It's been busy, kind of settling after the holiday. So I've had like a week or so to kind of unwind before I start back.
Yeah, your schedule looks pretty packed.
It is, but I like it that way. I get worried when it stops, having like everything piled on itself. So yeah.
Right. Busy is good, right?
Oh yeah. Busy's great.
Good.
Yeah. I'm that person that wants to be going all the time. So
that's a good thing. And it shows in your music. So you go back and forth from North Carolina to Nashville. Mm-hmm. And some of our listeners might not know why you do something like that.
So my biggest reason is I play a lot of rounds up there. I also play shows up there. And I have not decided to move fully yet. My family's here. My husband and I are settled here. Like we have our home and all of that. And so for me, it was one of those things like kind of get acclimated to the process, get acclimated to the area, begin to network, that kind of thing, before we just pick up our entire existence and move up there. We have talked and are talking about moving up there because, I mean, I'm sure you can imagine after a while of going back and forth, it gets a little hectic and tiring and you lose a lot of time on the road. But it's been a really fun and great process because it allows you to meet people while still being able to kind of escape the crazy of Nashville and Broadway and be able to come back. And we're surrounded by cows in Vail, North Carolina, so it's a little different.
Were you born and raised in around the North Carolina area where you are now?
So I was raised about 30 minutes from here. And then when my husband and I got married, we moved to Vail to be closer just to this area. We wanted land, basically. We wanted more land. So because I'd grown up in Hickory, right in the midst of a small town, but still town. And I had a condo and all of that. And he was not having that whatsoever. He was like, no, we got to get out of here. So.
Excellent. Is your husband a musician as well?
No. He likes to say that he can power the radio and that's
okay.
His musical instrument.
A man of my own heart. That's about all I can do too.
Now listen, when you're ready to make that move down there, we have a friend from Nashville. He's a realtor, singer, songwriter, plays in the duo Batson and Haynes. Eric is the guy you want to talk to when you get out there.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. So when you get out in Nashville and you're on Broadway, mm-hmm. there's a bar or restaurant every 2 feet in the 2, 3, 4 stories high. And there's a band or a musician playing on every single level all day long. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. It's awesome. Like I remember, because I've been going to Nashville since I was about 11 years old. And, back when you're 11 and you see people playing out on the street, you're like, oh, that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. Like, because it used to have the Shoney's restaurant, and I remember I used to go up there, and Shoney's was there, and I was like, I'm gonna play at Shoney's, like right here on the corner, and then they got rid of it. So anyway,
So
but
you're
yeah,
not going to play at Shoney's then, I guess.
no, I'm not playing
But,
Shoney,
but you
but
can
Not unless it
play.
comes back.
not unless it comes back.
But you can play at all the other places. What would be your favorite place to play?
Um, I love playing the rounds because you really you see people's hearts with their songs. Like it's so just raw, and I don't know. So rounds are probably my favorite thing to play in general, but one of my favorite rounds is at Big Jimmy's, and it's called Sippin' and Pickin'. It's on Tuesdays, and it's very laid back. I don't know. That's probably one of my favorites. And then also, like when I played there probably 2 months ago or so, it had been storming, and I don't know if Boston's like this at all, but Tennessee or Nashville and LA, I know is anytime it rains, everybody freaks out and is like, we can't leave the house or something, which is weird for me because I'm like, hey, this is great. Nobody's on the road. But like the wind was coming down, and it was right there on Second Avenue of like at Broadway. And it was just so like nostalgic looking out there at that. And so I think that that's probably one of my favorite places just because it was quiet, and it was like, and granted it was because it was raining, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's probably my favorite.
And is there a place that you haven't played in Nashville that you want to play?
Oh yeah. I mean, I think everybody says the Ryman. And that is one like that would be a dream come true, but I think for me the Bluebird Cafe. Um I've played listening room, and I love listening room. I love the audience that comes with listening room because they're there to hear the songs.
Yeah.
Um but there's just something about Bluebird Cafe. I mean, I remember going there when I was 11 or 12 years old, and just I fell in love with that place. And so that's definitely on my bucket list.
Well, we all know the story of the Bluebird and how Garth Brooks was supposedly found there, right? But it had a big part in his career. He showed up there the other night. They were doing a fundraiser for a thing, and out of the blue, who walks up, or into the blue, I should say,
Yeah,
who steps in and does a show with everyone? How cool is that you can have that happen anywhere in Nashville? Someone like that might step up.
Yeah, and I think that that's both it's an amazing thing, but it's an intimidating thing too.
We're fortunate. We've been down to the Bluebird a few times. Eric Haynes, who I've mentioned, and our friend Jeff Batson happen to host rounds there at least once a year. One of them gets to do that, and so they twice a year they're there. This young man right here has been able to stand on that stage and do the spoken word during a song that they wrote, a tribute song that Jeff Batson wrote to firefighters, and
that's awesome.
Captain Surabian here stood up on stage, and he does the firefighters creed or the prayer and during the song. So it's pretty cool to be in the room when you have someone doing it.
Yeah.
And you understand the song, but you're right. In those rounds and in those environments, whether it's the Bluebird, Third and Lindsay, listening room, wherever you are, it is so cool to watch those people lay their hearts out on their sleeves and tell you the inspirations behind the songs, the rationale behind them, and how they got there. Pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a blast every time we go down there.
Oh my goodness. When John said that, there's a restaurant every 2 feet, I thought to myself, well, thank God, because some people can't walk that far.
Oh God. So when you are playing out and about, do you do a lot of covers, or do you write a lot of your own music?
I would say it's probably about 50-50. I the big thing around here is like people want to know the music. So, I throw the covers in to kind of keep them engaged and see what's going on. And then, I'll slip my original in. And then a lot of times they'll be like, hey, so who's that by? And I'm like, me. So, it's proven to be a good plug. Now, if I'm doing a show where they specifically asked for like my music, then I'll throw a couple covers in. But yeah, typically like it's probably about 50-50 with what I'm doing.
What's your favorite song that you've written so far? Your own?
Oh goodness. That's a hard question. I don't know if I have a favorite. I think the one that I'm most proud of is a song called Paris. because when I was writing it, I had this specific idea in my head of how I wanted it to, what I wanted it to say, how I wanted it to turn out, and it did. So I think that that is probably one of the ones that I'm most proud of, and I think also probably I'm gonna say "Filthy Water" just because that song is about a very raw situation in my life that I didn't know how to express. And so once I kind of expressed it and got it out, it was like, okay, I can move past this. And
Now,
that's really what music is for me. It's that therapy and that processing that I need as an introvert to kind of move on and change my focus. So I think those, because especially Filthy Water, just because it was a very touchy situation, and it helped me, and I know that other people can relate to it. So it's about church hurt. It's about getting really hurt about the church, and that was sort of my path. Like, I was doing worship
wow.
ministry and all of that, and a lot of things happened, and it
It's
it
interesting now that you hear that and you hear the title, and then you've kind of put it together, and it's wow.
yeah.
That's
Well, and I was actually basing it around the phrase of, like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and meaning don't throw the good things out too. And it was like, no, sometimes you just got to throw it all out. Like, sometimes it's done.
yeah,
Um so yeah, that's what it's about.
interesting.
Yeah.
It's deep.
Yes, it is.
Most of your songs are either Christian based or about real experiences.
Hmm.
It seems.
Hmm. Yes. I tend to, so some of my songs are actually about, like, leaving jobs or something like that, but I try to base them on relationships, because a job is a relationship in itself. So the song "I Don't Want You Back" is actually sort of my song of just telling a job, like, no, I'm not ever coming back to this. Um, but yeah, so a lot of my songs, I write them, I guess, in the guise of, like, this horrible relationship, because people relate to that. But yeah, I try to change names and subjects, you know, I guess, to protect people in some way. So I don't throw it all out there for the world. But
Just about.
yeah, just about. But
So
you gotta
where
really know it.
where around you do you like to play in your area around Vale? Are there areas bars and restaurants that you like to be a part of down there?
Yeah, so as far as Vale, we have one blinking stoplight, so we really don't have anywhere. Um, but Lincolnton is right near us, so I play Lincolnton quite often, Forest City, Hickory, that area. Um, One of my favorite places, there's a bar in Forest City called the Hootenanny. Um, Great Southern name, and it's just my neighbors across the street actually own it, and that it's one of my favorite places. Like, the crowd's always great up there, and um I don't know, they're very helpful, and want to help support me. So I think anywhere like that, where you can kind of bring local music into a local restaurant and all of that, and have this community feel, that's awesome, and there needs to be more of that.
Now, in your musical, is there music in your family? How did you get into this?
Yeah, so my papa, he
You are a
played.
Southern girl through and through, aren't you?
I am. Yes, that there is no denying. Yes, my papa, he played banjo, mandolin, guitar, and he actually played for a Sunday morning radio show before I was born. And so I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. I was the youngest grandchild, and so I was constantly at both sets of grandparents' house. And But my papa and my nanny Duncan were both very into music, especially country music, and that's sort of where that began. He taught me my first guitar chords and mandolin until I broke it, and all of that. And then church became sort of that prevalent thing of getting involved with church choir and ensembles there, and grew up in school choir too. And so that was really what I was focused on, was music inside the church. And I was really doing it more of like a hobby and pastime. Like I would go home and write, but all of that was sort of just on the back burner, because I was thinking about law school, and I was paralegal and all that kind of stuff. So, and then life kind of happened, and I realized like I'm not happy doing this. Like I need to try this music thing. And so I went full time into church ministry for a while.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's, and there I was thinking you were going to try the full-time thing of just getting out of there and just doing music full-time.
And I did. Yeah, it basically was that transition. But I think that honestly, I think that the church, the ministry with the church, sort of gave me that. I'm a very realistic person. My parents are very like realistic, and so I was never like, music was not that thing that they were like, go do that. Like they were more like, you can do that once you do this over here. Um, and so I think I had to get past that. And so for me, the ministry with the church was sort of like, okay, this is that stepping stone to show like you can do music full time and it's still safe. Um, and then I realized like, no, like if you're going to do something, you got to do it. You can't have your foot over here and here and here. So
Now, obviously, when you got to the writing of Filthy Water, I was thinking to myself, I wonder if during your writing and you're sitting in your room writing songs and you're still a big member of the church, do you ever find those contradictions happening and find yourself struggling with what you want to write and what you want to sing is somewhat different than what you're experiencing at church? And how
um,
does that affect you?
not totally. I will say that um, when you're in the position, because I'm still a worship pastor. Actually, I'm a worship pastor for a local church. There are certain songs that I want, that I would stay away from, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
there's just certain things that I won't necessarily sing about, and it's not even because like it just doesn't apply to me. I think is more so what it is.
Yeah.
But I try to not use some language or something like that that I may really want to say. But
Well, it's
um,
funny. I guess I should rephrase or rethink the way I think about it, right? Because I think the divide is that okay, the church is here and you're conflicted and you want to go this way. Wherein you're conflicted because there's outside influences want to take you here, but you want to stay here. And
yeah,
I like that. I can appreciate that, and I
I
should
think
look at
for
it more
me, my
from that
faith is the
standpoint.
number one thing. But I also will say with that question, so for me, because my first album was actually contemporary Christian and it came out in 2015, and I struggled to try to promote it whatsoever because I felt very, very guilty because I was like, I can't, I didn't want anybody seeing me use that platform for personal. And so I was just like, yeah, I have this album. Like, if you want to listen to it here. So I tried to keep them very separate. And as a musician, like that's very hard to do because, especially when you're writing your music, like that's part of you. And so it was just, that was very conflictual for me because it was like, I want to pursue this, but I don't want them to think that I'm pursuing this through this avenue, if that makes any amount of
It
sense.
does.
Right. But that was basically your therapy, getting it out
Yeah,
in,
yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
Good. And you said you have had one album out, and how many do you have out total now?
So I had the one in 2015, Hello Life. That's contemporary Christian. And then I released several singles during 2020 that are more country pop. Released a EP. Well, actually, I guess it would be an album because it's 8 songs. In 2021 called Playing with Fire. It's country. And then Songbird Part 1 came out last July. And that is more country pop. And I'm working on Songbird Part 2 now. And so that's an EP of 2 parts that really make this one long story, if you will. And I'm getting ready to start working on a Christmas album. I already started it, but I got to finish it. And working on another project too.
That's fantastic. How do people listen to your music?
Yeah, I would say the easiest way is to go on jenniferalvarado.com. There, I have links to everything, Spotify, all the other digital streaming services are there. Or you can follow me on Instagram, Jennifer Alvarado Music. Facebook is Jennifer Alvarado Music if you search it, or Jen Music 12. And TikTok, though, I will tell you, I'm never on there. It's Jennifer Alvarado Music.
It's just a lot of work. TikTok is a lot of work, isn't it?
It is, and I just don't feel like I know what I'm doing.
I think a lot of us feel that way.
In one of your songs had close to 500,000 streams.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Thank you. I'm grateful, and that's the biggest thing I can say. I think for me, music has always been, like I said, my therapy. And I remember growing up being that, I'm an only child, and so I was that like weird, lonely child that I related to people through their music and through their words. And so anytime that somebody else can relate to that's huge. Like that makes everything worth it.
Now, Jennifer, when you reach a milestone like that, 500,000 people, it's validating, and that's got to feel good. But did you also see yourself as that happened and the popularity of the song came out? Was there bookings that came along with it? Was there more notoriety? Were you out there getting on the road a little bit more because of that?
I think it definitely helps, because you have some sort of statistic number, whatever to show like, hey, I'm not just sitting here in my bedroom releasing demos that the dog's listening to, like, so yes, I think it does help. And I think beyond that, it gives you an idea of where it's working and where it's not, like population wise. And so because of that, like, because I saw where things were working, like I'm doing Texas in March, I'm going down there and doing a few shows. And then I will be in California in May for about a week and a half doing some shows. So it's definitely opened those doors, and I love that, because there's places that I don't know otherwise I would play if it wasn't for that.
So the numbers somewhat drive you to where you want to go. If you have 200,000 people listening to the song down in Texas, you go to Texas to play.
Right. Yeah. I look to see like what are my most popular cities, that kind of thing, and then kind of base it around there. Now, granted, I'm going to South by Southwest too for Texas, but it helped that Austin was one of my like top cities. So
Sure.
Yeah.
How could it not be?
And what was the name of that song?
Which one?
You're 500,000.
I think Filthy Water is actually the one that has the highest at this point.
Okay. Well, you know,
or maybe it Stars Collide. I'm not sure.
well, you know what? We are gonna play Filthy Waters for
every time you talk to me. Light a match and watch it burn. Soon the table's gonna turn. You think you are the man, talking with your dirty hands. But come on, make it right. The things you took away in spite. Ooh, don't you know? Ooh, the truth is gonna show. One day soon they're gonna see exactly
that was Jennifer Alvarado with Dirty Waters. Muddy Waters, Dirty Waters.
Well, like I said, listening to I'm going to have to go back and listen to it more and really reflect on your words and your emotions and why you got into the song. What are you writing right now? What are your inspirations behind the songs you're getting ready to put out there?
There's a song that I'm working on. It's called Trigger Warning. And essentially it's just about when you have somebody in your life that just kind of brings up all the bad things of the past, and you know that you sort of got to get away from that person, but at the same time, like, you're in that relationship. And so really this second part of Songbird focuses on realizing, because part one was more about like this toxic relationship, you're coming out of it, you're left with all these questions. And part two is sort of rebuilding after that and realizing like it wasn't all you, it's not all about you, it's this other situation too. And sort of just regaining your voice in all of it. And so that's really what I'm working on right now, are songs that kind of fit into that category.
So Songbird is the double part. It's actually a story from start to finish.
Yes.
So the 15, 16 songs all fit in.
I think it ends up being 13 total.
13 songs. And the whole of both of those together tell a story.
Yes.
So do the songs go in order for a particular reason? And so if that's the case, tell me about By This Time Next Year. Where'd you come up with that title and what's it about?
Well, it basically, I wrote that at the end of 2020. So, as we all know, 2020 was a lovely year. And I wrote it on New Year's Eve of 2020. And all this stuff had happened where I was coming out of like all this turmoil for the past 2 years or so of my life. And I didn't know what I was doing. I had really lost myself, and like I honestly had contemplated just completely giving up music totally and not pursuing it at all anymore. And I wrote that song about just the fact of people hurt, all of that. Like in a year, it wouldn't matter. Like I would be in a completely different place. I would grow from it. I would move forward, but that I just needed to leave it and move and move on. And yeah.
Interesting. Okay, beautiful.
So again, you're listening to Musicians and Beyond with Lawhorne and Surabian, and we are having a wonderful chat with Jennifer Alvarado, and she's telling us about some of the songs she's written, how good they've done, future projects, and everything she's involved with. And we're having a great time in studio with her, Mark.
Absolutely. And coming up from through the airwaves from North Carolina, Vail, North Carolina, where they have a lot of fencing, a lot of grass, and a lot of cows. It's a lot different than we have up here.
Yes, I'm sure it is.
So being down there, do you get down to South Carolina? Is there any spot that you like to play in South Carolina and the neighboring state? And where would those places be?
Yeah, so I'm actually playing What Ails You in Greenville. Greenville's only like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes from me.
Big music spot, right?
Yes, and I'm actually part of NSAI, Nashville Songwriters Association, their Greenville chapter. That's my chapter that I'm part of. So yeah, I like Greenville a lot. My family's in Columbia in that area, so I always like going down there. But yeah, definitely What Ails You, I think I'm playing that in maybe April. No, March, in the March. And so that's a really fun little place to play. I also have been playing Virginia, that area, and there's a couple really cool places up there. Roanoke, well, not Roanoke, Richmond area, we have family up there, and so I go up there and stay with them and play around there.
Fun.
So yeah.
And when you're out and about, are you out by yourself or do you have a band with you?
Both. I've done both. I am starting to do more full band shows. I'm putting that band together. We actually played the Cobra a couple weeks ago in Nashville. But yeah, I'm trying to like fit that group together because, you know, this is not the easiest of I guess things to do in life. Like people have families, people have jobs, and so you have to really find those right people that are able to make those sacrifices for their schedule. You know, luckily my husband's a counselor, and so, you know, he's just like, just go do it. But, you know, he's just happy that I'm finally doing it. And
We
so
all
he's
are.
been
We
very,
are. We're all that happy.
thanks. But yeah, my husband is very supportive, and so he's like, yeah, just go do what you need to do. But you know, to be married to a musician, it's a very weird thing. And if you don't have like your spouse's support or your significant other support, like it's hard sometimes.
What's up next for you? What do you have coming up for any shows in the near future? Where are you traveling to? And tell us where people can get out and see you live.
Yeah, so for most of January, I'm kind of in this area. I'm playing a show Thursday night, about an hour from here. And then the rest of them are about an hour and a half from here. I go to Nashville at the end of the month to play a few shows up in the Hendersonville, Ashland City, and Opry Mills, those places. And yeah, so just kind of going back and forth still, but not as much. Like not as much for the next couple months.
Okay.
Well, hopefully, Mark, next time we're down there, we can look on the
We have to plan
on the
right.
website and see if
Yeah.
we can catch you.
Definitely.
It would be fun.
We need to get back on the plane and get down to Nashville. And so when you're going back and forth, how are you getting to and from? Driving or are you
Oh
flying?
yeah, I'm driving.
Oh
Yeah,
boy.
I
That's
drive.
how many hours?
The last trip was about 13 round trip. So, but that's only because we had to stop. So like usually I can make it in about 5.5 hours and then about 5.5, 6 hours back. So, you know.
Yeah, well, we got to get on a plane and get back down there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
What's your favorite restaurant in Nashville? When you're in Nashville, where do you like to go out to eat?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's horrible.
Not
I
funny?
haven't thought about it.
The Southernmost Steak and Oyster is one of my favorite spots.
Okay.
Yeah, a great little spot right off of Broadway on, I believe it's on Second,
Okay.
right next to the diner that's 7 floors high.
Please.
Yeah, that's a crazy place. That's a fun
It is a
spot.
crazy place.
Yeah.
But this Southern Steak and Oyster, one of my favorite spots to sit and have brunch or lunch, and it's a great spot to people watch.
Okay. Okay. Well, I like to people watch. It gives me inspiration. So
Get over there, get a mimosa, sit at the bar, and you stare out and you watch. There's a lot of fun things to see out there.
okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you want to touch on with us?
I don't think so. Just be watching for part 2. I'm hoping that it'll be out by March. Again, working on it. Holidays kind of threw a cramp in that one, but we'll get it out soon.
Excellent. When the next time you go down to Nashville, let us know. We'll try and make sure our friends or we're able to get there. But Jeff and Eric are down there. And we have a lot more friends moving down there every day. So if we can
Awesome.
send some people over to your show and introduce you, and you get to do a little writing with each other, that's
Oh,
what that's all we care about is networking and helping other people get introduced to others in the industry. So
that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
So again, I want our listeners to check out Jennifer Alvarado and follow her on her social media pages and go to all streaming platforms and check out some of her incredible music.
yeah, and you can find out more if you don't find them. If you're searching for her and you don't find her, go to www.musiciansandbeyond. You'll find her there.
Excellent. So Jennifer, we want to thank you for coming on to our show and sharing your inspirational stories.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
Thank you, Jennifer. We look forward to seeing more from you in the future, and we'll be having you back on when Songbird 2 comes out.
Awesome. Thank you.